I often ask people when they come in, what brought you into our office today? The most common response to that is my spouse. When you have a hearing loss, honestly, it has a bigger effect on everyone around you than you. When you have a hearing loss, you're trying to fill in the gaps. You're trying to figure out what part of speech you heard and didn't. You're trying to put together this jigsaw puzzle with 30% of the pieces missing. And most of the time, you'll feel like you're piecing the message together and that you're understanding. Unfortunately, when you don't understand, a lot of times, it's not that you don't hear, it's that you misunderstand. You think you heard something, and then you respond based on what you thought you heard, and there's a miscommunication. This can be incredibly frustrating. It can lead to difficulties in relationships. It can also lead to people thinking you only hear when you want to hear. I constantly hear this accusation of my spouse has selective hearing. And so there's some animosity that occurs when one spouse thinks that the other spouse is purposefully ignoring them. Unfortunately, with hearing loss, it's not that you're purposefully ignoring the spouse, it's that certain listening environments will allow you to communicate well and certain listening environments will not. So sometimes your hearing seems fine and other times your hearing seems terrible. So if everything is perfect, you may hear your spouse well. If you're face-to-face, quiet environment, within 8 feet of each other, they got your attention first, you may do great. But if their back is turned, if they're more than 8 feet away, if they didn't get your attention first, if they're speaking softly, if there's background noise in the room, all of a sudden things can fall apart. Miscommunications occur, resentment builds up, animosity builds up, and one member of the couple feels like they're not being valued and they're not being understood. The other member of the couple with the hearing loss feels like they're not being understood. And they say, well, I would hear you just fine if you would just turn around and talk to me, if you would make sure the room is quiet, if you would speak up. Well, the problem is the real world doesn't work that way. 90% of our communications are not in perfect listening environments. Almost all of our communications are done in difficult listening environments. Before you had a hearing loss, you were able to hear in those environments. Now you can't. It's not fair to put the entire responsibility for that difficulty on your communication partner. Communication is a shared effort. You, as the hearing impaired person, need to do what you can, which is get the best possible health care for your hearing loss. And your communication partner needs to do what they can, which is create an environment that is most conducive to understanding them. Same room communication, turn and face each other, don't talk with the water running. All of these things can help, but this really is a shared environment.